Yes, sir. So start as me. Welcome everybody, our TCC members and the public, to our May 12th TCC meeting for the Chattanooga-Hamilton County, North Georgia Region TPO. And we are doing this meeting in compliance with the governor's executive order for virtual meetings. And there are a couple of guidelines for that. One is that all meeting materials need to be posted online, which we have done at our website at www.chcrpa.org. And that's where all the meeting materials for today's meeting are posted. Also, another important guideline for doing virtual meetings is we have to do both our attendance and any action items by roll call vote. So any item requiring an action on the part of this board will be done by a roll call vote, and Karen Rennick will be conducting that at each appropriate moment during the agenda. So we'll start with the attendance, and Karen, I'll turn it over to you for a roll call vote for those who are present.
Sure. And we have already confirmed these folks. Jeremy Bryson, if you could unmute your mic and say here.
Here, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. And I'm just making sure that everyone is, thank you, Jeremy. Chad Reese?
Present.
Eric Asbo?
Present.
Mark Heinzer?
Here.
Thank you. Matt Snyder?
Here.
Annie Powell? And Annie, you are joining us by phone. Here we go. Let me move Annie in. Annie, are you able to hear us? Annie, are you able to hear us? And Annie, one last time, are you able to hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Great. Jack McAfee? Thank you. John Bridger?
Present.
Van Hines? I know you're on the call. Julianne Meadows?
Here.
Jenny Park?
Here.
Thank you. Stephanie Deloquy? Stephanie, I know you're on the call. Are you still able to speak?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. Dan, I see you. Thank you. Loretta Hopper? Loretta, I see you on the call. Are you still able to hear us? We'll come back. Bert Johnson?
Here.
Thank you. Kimberly Grayson?
Here.
Thank you. Andrea Noel?
Here.
Thank you. Emery Day? Anne-Marie, are you still able to hear us?
Here.
Thank you. And Elizabeth Watkins?
Here.
Okay. And Loretta, I'm going to come back to you one more time and just see if you're able to speak and hear us. Okay. Well, she's on the call, so we'll put her as a question mark and hit her in the next roll call. So, Mr. Chair, we are complete with the roll call. And
Ready to proceed with the agenda?
yes.
Okay, we have another roll call for our meeting minutes. So just another note, and of course I'm gonna ask if anyone has any questions about the meeting minutes, but just part of our procedure for virtual meetings, if you don't mind, if you're the motioner, just make the motion and state your name after you make the motion, and same thing for the second. That way we have a good record of that for our minutes for the next go around. So first we'll talk about our meeting minutes. Y'all have seen those through our distribution via email and on our website. Does anybody have any questions or corrections related to the minutes?
Karen?
Yes.
Hey, this is Chris Dorsey from East Ridge. I don't think you called anybody from East Ridge.
No, Chris, thank you so much. I'm putting you on the list, and thanks. I'll have you as both the roll call and then in future calls. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me pause there. Anybody else who we missed on the roll call before we get into voting on the minutes that stepped in? Okay, not noted. Then any questions? I'm not hearing any questions on the minutes, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Again, just if you make the motion and just state your name after the motion, so we got that for the record.
Motion, Bert Johnson.
Second, Wayne Hines.
Thank you. All right, we'll now conduct a roll call on approval of the minutes. Karen?
Okay. Jeremy Bryson,
Yes.
Chad Reese,
Yes.
Eric Asbo,
Yes.
Mark Heinzer,
Yes.
Matthew Snyder, Matt Snyder. Matt, you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you. Annie Powell?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Jack McAfee? Thank you, Jack, in the chat. Wayne Hines?
Yes.
Thank you. Chris Dorsey?
Yes.
Julianne Meadows?
Yes.
Jenny Park?
Yes.
Stephanie Delopwe?
Yes.
Dan Wright?
Yes.
Loretta Hopper? Bert Johnson?
Yes.
Kimberly Grayson?
Yes.
And Andrea Noel?
Yes.
And just as a note, we do have our federal partners with us, Anne Marie Day and Elizabeth Watkins, and they're members of the TCC, but non-voting members, just as a reminder. So we're glad to have them, but they won't be part of the roll call for those motions. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we're on to our next item of the agenda, which will also require action on behalf of the committee. This is to open for public comment and recommend to approve by resolution an amendment to our 2020 to 2023 Transportation Improvement Program. And Betsy Evans is going to provide an overview of that. Betsy?
Thanks, John. There are several projects included in this amendment today, so I'll just run through them all very quickly. First up is the CARTA electric fixed route coach purchase project. CARTA is adding 2.6 million federal share of CMAQ funds to this current project. Second is the CARTA cutaway van purchase. CARTA is adding this project to the tip with 5339B funds. Third is the CARTA fixed route coach purchase project. CARTA is also adding this project to the tip with 5339B funds. Fourth on the list is the TDOT project. It's project 2033000. It's the Enterprise Parkway Ferdinand Peach Way project. TDOT is requesting to add STA funds in fiscal year 2020 for construction. Fifth, we have Georgia 0015538. It's the State Route 3 Bridge Reconstruction Project. GDOT has requested to add the right-of-way phase for fiscal year 2021. Sixth, we have Georgia 0013464. It's the 2021 oversight services for Z230 and CMAQ projects. Seventh is Georgia 0013465. It's fiscal year 2022 oversight services for their Z230 and CMAQ projects as well. And then the eighth one is Georgia 0013466. It's fiscal year 2023 oversight services for their Z230 and CMAQ projects. And number 9 is Georgia 0016607. It's County Route 219, their Red Belt Road Bridge Reconstruction Project. GDOT has requested to add the PE and right-of-way phases to this project. And lastly, we have Georgia 0016608. It's the County Route 434 Euclid Road Bridge project. GDOT has requested to add the PE and right-of-way phases to this project in the tip. And that is it.
Okay. So are any questions from our committee members on that staff overview of the proposed amendments to the 2020-2023 Transportation Improvement Program? Okay, if there's not any questions from our, I heard somebody, go ahead.
Yeah. Betsy, can you speak to what if you know the state and federal comments about the last 5 that you mentioned?
comments on them?
Yeah, well, so it says that the action is contingent upon satisfying the state and federal comments. Have those been received?
We have not received any comments on any of these projects, and I think the deadline for the last 5 is tomorrow, the close of business tomorrow. But so far, we have not received any comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that question, Eric. That was good. That was a good question. Also, the opportunity for the audience, if there's anybody else in the public who would like to speak to this particular item. So I'll turn over to Karen and Melissa. If there's anybody attending the meeting who wants to speak as a public member to this item.
Mr. Chairman, I do not see anyone with raised hands, and I do not see any questions in the chat box.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. All right, since we've heard an overview of the proposed changes and a report from staff, this is an opportunity now to again entertain a motion to accept these to be approved moving forward.
So moved. Way and Hines.
Do you have a
Second,
motion?
Chris Dorsey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, Karen, roll call, please.
Okay. Jeremy Bryson,
Yes.
Chad Reese,
Yes.
Eric Asbo,
Yes.
Mark Heinzer,
Yes.
Matt Snyder,
Yes.
Annie Powell,
Yes.
Jack McAfee. Thanks, Jack. Wayne Hines,
Yes.
Chris Dorsey,
Yes.
Julianne Meadows,
Yes.
Jenny Park,
Yes.
Stephanie Deloqui,
Yes.
Dan Wright,
Yes.
Loretta Hopper, Bart Johnson,
Yes.
Kimberly Grayson,
Yes.
Andrea Noel.
Yes.
Thank you for going through that one more time.
Okay. On to our next agenda item is to open for a 45-day public comment period for our public participation plan. And this action is contingent on satisfying the federal comments. I know Karen Rennick's been coordinating that, so I'll turn it over to you, Karen, to provide an overview and update.
Sure. So as TCC members know from the last few cycles of your meeting, the TPO is in process of updating the public participation plan. And the TPO is required to have a public participation plan that provides interested people with the opportunity to participate in the transportation planning process. And our our current plan was last updated in 2013, although we've done several evaluations of that plan since that time. So we are moving through the steps for plan completion, and there's kind of a checklist that we've continued to mark off as part of the staff reports. So the draft plan has been reviewed by the TPO state and federal partners, and we just received notice yesterday that we've successfully addressed all comments. So this now will asking action for the TCC without contingent upon satisfying those comments. I do want to thank the state and federal partners for the time that they spent reviewing the document. Their comments and questions are helpful, they're thoughtful, and we actually have a better product because of that, that review and those suggestions. So I do want to thank them for that. So both TCC and board members should be receiving an email today or tomorrow with the draft public participation plan. You'll have quite a long time to review that plan, but want to give you plenty of opportunity to review and follow up if you have any questions. So again, today we're asking the TCC to approve opening the required 45-day public comment period for the draft plan. The 45-day period is a federal requirement and quite a lengthy period because the intention really is to get meaningful feedback on this plan. In order to get that feedback, we are going to have to do some non-traditional meetings or gather input, and all of that is not completely set yet. But we do know that that's going to require a little bit of something different than just having an in-person public meeting. So we will update TPO members as we go through the process and identify some of those key input opportunities for the public in case you want to participate or you want to share that information with your folks. So we're currently on track for a TCC recommendation for approval in July and executive board adoption in August. So we really do have about 3 more months to get input, to make sure we're communicating with you all, taking your questions, and those questions are comments from the board. The next thing will be that email the next day or two with the draft plan for review. And Mr. Chair, I can answer questions at any time.
Again, just to clarify, we're just releasing this for public comment, and the actual adoption will come mid-year.
That's correct, yes. This is just saying we understand, we've been through the steps, and we have a document that we're comfortable releasing to the public. And I know you've not had a chance to go through the draft, but we have successfully addressed our state and federal comments.
So does anybody have any questions from our TCC committee as far as maybe about the plan itself, as far as any major elements or releasing it at this time?
I'm interested in learning, what substantial changes have been made in this plan, this draft plan versus the previous one. Was there anything significant that we learned through the survey that was issued or through other best practices that other MPOs are instituting? Thanks.
Good question, Jenny. Go ahead, Karen.
So we did do the survey. I'll start with that because that was kind of the starting point. I think the interesting thing about the survey was it did show that communicating to people, email's good, which is one of the tools that the TPO uses. And we have as one of our metrics for how we're doing is building our stakeholder communication email list. But that was really a lot of people did want to receive information through email. We did kind of after that we want to hear email, information through websites and social media or flyers or handouts. All of those got pretty good hits. Like there's a lot of ways people are ready to receive information that works for them. So that kind of shows we need to make sure we do a broad range of efforts. We did also get feedback from folks that they just didn't know how to participate, that I've not participated with the MPO because I don't really know what to do. And I think you've heard about Melissa and Caroline's efforts with the MPO, the kind of the education campaign, getting ready for the 2050 plan, to say, how do you participate? How do you engage? I think that will really help kind of address that. I don't know what to do. And then also ways to get there's ways to get the information from us, but to give us feedback back. There's a lot of really good ways to do that. Electronic surveys, paper surveys, flyers, coming to meetings and talking to us. So again, kind of showing that we need a wide range of tools in our toolbox. So I think that's kind of the one part of it. The second major, or some of the major changes, and I can detail that in the email just so folks know what to look for. We do have kind of a wide range of tools. We do have a commitment in the participation plan of these are the things we're going to do every single time. When we have maybe a regional transportation plan or a TIP, we might need to do some things a little different, but we are fully committed to doing these items for inclusive engagement, and that becomes kind of our checklist to make sure we're doing that consistently. And then also we're addressing things like planning for kind of emergencies like we're in now. That's not something we've addressed in the plan, but that kind of talks about, hey, if there's some uncertainty, what does that public process look like? So those are just some of the changes, but I think the question is good, and I will detail those in the email just so folks know what to look for.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from our committee? Okay, Melissa, anybody in the audience who would like to address the committee before we take action on this item?
I am not seeing any raised hands, and I do not see any comments or questions in the chat box.
Okay, thank you. If not, then I'll entertain a motion that we, again, just release this for public feedback. So there'll be opportunity for all of us to kind of see the public comments, and then I'm sure, we'll look at those and reflect that in the final version that will have action sometime middle of the summer. So I'll entertain a motion to at least put this out there for public review. Somebody would do that.
So
Yeah.
moved, Jenny Park.
Andrea Noel. I'll second that.
So we got a motion from Jenny Park, a second from Ms. Noel. All right, Karen, roll call.
Sure. Jeremy Bryson,
Yes.
John Reese,
Yes.
Eric Asbo,
Yes.
Mark Heinzer. Mark
Yes.
Heinzer. Okay, thank you. Matt Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you. Annie
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Jack McAfee. Thank you, Jack. Wayne Hines,
Yes.
Chris Dorsey,
Yes.
Julianne Meadows,
Yes.
and Jenny, we've got your action. Stephanie Deloqui,
Yes.
Dan Wright,
Yes.
thank you. Loretta Hopper, Bert Johnson,
Yes.
Kimberly Grayson,
Yes.
and Andrea Noel.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, that's the last roll call.
Okay, thank you, Karen. We're going to our next agenda item, which is there's no formal action, but we are providing you some updates on several projects that we're working on. And we're going to start with Courtney Geary, who's going to give you an overview of their Carter's Public Safety Transportation Agency Safety Plan and Targets, followed by Carolyn Daigle, who will be giving an update on the Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan Annual Review. And that'll be concluded by Karen Rennick, who's going to give you an update on our procurement process for our consultants. So, Courtney?
Thank you, John. As part of the federal requirements for transportation performance management and target setting, CARTA is required to prepare a public transportation agency safety plan. The plan must include targets for the number and rate of reportable transit-related fatalities, injuries, and safety events, as well as the mean distance between major mechanical failures by mode. The plan must be reviewed and updated annually. In light of disruptions to transit agencies due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Federal Transit Administration recently issued a notice of enforcement and discretion, effectively extending the deadline for initial safety plans to December 31st, 2020. But CARTA has already prepared a draft safety plan that is being reviewed internally as well as by TDOT. And as of now, they're on track to meet the original deadline of July 20th, 2020. CARTA has designated Cindy Bonds as their Director of Safety and Security, and she will be coordinating the safety plan. The TPO is required to adopt transit safety targets specific to our planning area 180 days after CARTA establishes their targets through their safety plan. The targets must inform our investment priorities for upcoming transit projects, and the targets and the plan must be incorporated into our transportation improvement program and our regional transportation plan. We aren't required to set new transit safety targets annually when CARTA updates their safety plan, but we can choose to revisit the targets when we update the system performance report for our regional transportation plan. CARTA set our safety targets. And as a point of clarification, the transit safety targets are separate and distinct from the Highway Safety Improvement Program safety targets related to all types of fatalities and serious injuries on all public roadways, which the TPO does have to adopt annually in February. There's no need for action on this item today, but we just wanted to make sure that you all are aware of these requirements and the upcoming deadlines.
Thank you, Courtney. Does anybody have any questions on that report? Okay, if not, thank you, Courtney. We'll go on to our next staff report, Caroline Daigle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another just project update about our coordinated public transit human services transportation plan. So federal law requires that this is given an update every 5 years in air quality attainment areas. As you all are aware, we just had our last major update in 2019, just a year ago, for the coordinated plan. But in addition to the major updates, we also usually do an annual review of the plan. That's just each year looking at the coordinated plan together with the Human Services Transportation Committee and making sure that the service details are up to date, kind of reflecting the hours and operations of the different human services transportation providers in the area. So with the restrictions of COVID-19, we weren't able to have our quarterly committee meeting in person. And we figured it was going to be kind of difficult to coordinate with such a big group that's really focused on a lot of frontline stuff with committee members from the health department and from other human services oriented agencies. So we did the annual review via email this year. And because we just recently had a pretty major update last year, we weren't anticipating any big changes in service details that needed to be updated for the annual review. So we did coordinate that via email, and we got a couple of minor service detail changes, like hours of operation had changed. So we are preparing that update or that review of the plan right now, and it will be available on the TPO's website before the June executive board meeting. So this doesn't require any formal action, but it's just to let everybody know that we're keeping up with that process and continuing to do the annual review, even though it's kind of a different format. And then along those lines, I've included in your packet the Chattanooga Ride Guide. This was an idea of our Human Services Committee, I guess, at our last meeting in person, which would have been in February, where folks were thinking that the transportation service details that are included in the plan, that it would be helpful to pull them out of the 100-page plan document and put them into kind of a brochure format so people can easily reference that. So we did prepare that together with the committee in February, and I've included it for everybody's reference today. So let me know if you have any questions about this.
Hey, did any board members have any, committee members have any questions about that report?
Just
Okay.
a comment that that ride guide is great, and I'm sure will be really helpful to people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carolyn, I got a follow-up. And I just, this may be too much in the weeds, but I know post-COVID with all the public health concerns, does that have any implications for, I guess, how we're looking at this document or not, or how what are you hearing amongst your transit providers as it relates to sort of how that's changed operation?
That's a great question. We know that both transit funding and the way that people use transit is definitely changing because of COVID-19. We haven't really had those discussions yet as a committee, but I am really anxious to hear. We have committee members that work at the health department, at various like health and human services oriented agencies that are looking to connect clients with transportation. So I'm really kind of anxious to hear what their experience has been next time we're able to kind of convene virtually or in person as a group. But yeah, I think there will definitely be some lasting impacts, and we'll have to just kind of adjust accordingly.
Yeah, thank you. Any other committee members have questions? All right, thank you, Caroline. I'll now turn over to Karen Rennick, who'll give us an update on our TPO consultant procurement process.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So anyone who is at the April meeting, this is going to be almost an exact repeat of that information. But just as a reminder, early this year, the TPO released a request for qualifications for transportation planning consultants, and looking for consultants capable of providing a wide range of transportation planning services for the TPO. The RFQ closed at the end of February, and at the March TCC meeting, we reached out and asked if we had anyone willing to serve on the TPO's consultant selection subcommittee. We really want to thank Andrea Noel and Eric Asbo. They both agreed to assist in this, and we really do feel that having a participation by TPO members really broadens our ability to pick a better consultant. So those two TPO members joined you and Lee, Melissa Taylor, myself, in participating in consultant review and will participate in consultant review and interviews and recommending selected consultants to the TCC. We have completed the first round of review and will continue to move forward under the guidance of the City of Chattanooga Purchasing Department. Due to the difficulties we're in and the additional tornadoes that went through our community, there has been a little bit of delay while the purchasing department is busy with some emergency items, but we will continue to update that. We are hoping to pre-qualify consultants and get permission to put consultants under contract by the board this summer. So while this consultant selection subcommittee kind of does the review and interviews and recommendation, that is a recommendation to the TCC on action for consultants that goes to the board. And ultimately the board is the one, of course, that allows the RPA on behalf of the TPO to put consultants under contract. So we will be back before the TCC and hopefully the next meeting or two with some consultant recommendations.
Thank you, Karen. Does anybody have any questions about that update? Okay. Melissa, does anybody in the public who has questions or comments that you see?
I do not see any questions or comments in the chat box, nor do I see any raised hands from our audience participation.
Okay, thank you, Melissa. We also have, I guess as we get to the end of our agenda, we have a number of written reports that were part of your packet. We will not be providing a full staff presentation of those reports, but they're there for your information. And so I guess I'll pause. If any committee members have any questions about the other staff reports in the agenda packet, we can answer those now. Okay. I know, Karen, sometimes we do TDOT updates. Are we going to try to do that this time or?
Mr. Chair, we have kind of tried to keep the meeting somewhat concise since this is still a new format to us. Unless TDOT or GDOT wants to, we have not coordinated that in advance. Their information is contained in the staff reports.
So again, anybody in the committee have any questions on those before because otherwise I'll be moving to Melissa to see if there are any public comments.
Mr. Chair, if I could, this is Andrea with TDOT.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a brief update because in the staff reports, I didn't notice anything about grants or grant awards, but I did want to just mention, I know that the grant awards went out for the Multimodal Access Grant maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And unfortunately, none of them were awarded within the TPO. So, but within Region 2, we did have 5 awards, and apparently your city had to start with a C or an M because we had Calhoun, Cleveland, Salina, Monteagle, and McMinnville. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
But that was jokingly, but I did want to mention that the Multimodal Grant, their intent is to put the notice of intent online by the end of this month. For those of you that want to apply again this year, you should be able to respond to the notice of intent within a few weeks.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions about that as far as the process for the next round of grant opportunities? Okay, thank you, Andrea. Now I'll turn to Melissa. Melissa, are there any members of the audience from the public would like to ask about the staff reports or just, I guess, also general comments from the public in general?
I do not see any, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, unless anybody else has any other updates from committee members, I'll just pause briefly. Otherwise, we'll adjourn after that. But if any of the members of our committee want to give any informational updates for everybody else's benefit before we adjourn? Okay. If not, we will be adjourned. And as always, everybody stay safe. And we will meet again. Karen, when's our next scheduled meeting?
Our next scheduled meeting is on the July 14th.
July 14th.
And as of right now, the governor's executive order hasn't extended that far. So I think the June meeting will probably be virtual, and we're not sure about the July meeting, whether that'll be virtual yet or not.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, we stand, do we need a roll call vote to adjourn? I don't think so. Do
We
we?
don't, if we could just get someone to make a motion, that would be great.
All right, somebody move to adjourn.
So moved, Jenny Park.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
Mark Heinzer.
All right, thank you, Mr. Heinzer. All right, you all have a good week and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.